My mic was not recording that entire time. How does this happen? Every single time I have filmed with these. Hi, today, listen, we're just getting right into it. I'm going to do a side-by-side review of the new Auric, what are these called? Mirage Shift palette. Auric was kind enough to send me Daybreak, which is the lightest one. Oh, almost hit myself in the face. I personally was like a little bit nervous that the undertones would be a little too cool toned or like too on the neutrally side for my warm olive skin. So I decided to pick up the medium one, which is called High Noon, because on the website it looked a little bit more like warm and peachy. And I also just kind of wanted to see like how much I can, you know, like tone down the pigment or build up the pigment. So we're gonna do a side-by-side comparison of the two in case you're like around my skin tone, depending on your undertone. If you've been interested in these palettes, because they are not cheap. I think they're around $80. Full disclosure, I'm literally refilming this video because I wasn't happy with the footage that I got the first time. So I have already used these, and spoiler alert, I really like them. But regardless, I wanted you to see them in action. So let's just get into it. Okay, so we're gonna start off with Daybreak, the lightest one. When I first looked at this, I was like, oh, I don't know, like this might look a little too blue toned for my skin. And I thought that this might pull a little too red on my skin because sometimes that happens. The bronzer. The highlight, gorgeous. And if you're not familiar, these are like a pretty satiny finish as in terms of the formula, but they do come with this like mixing balm. So you have the option to mix something a little bit more dewy into any of the formulas to manipulate it for your skin type, which is great, or your preference at the time. They also sent me, thankfully, a little mixing tray, which looked really cute before I used it, and now it's all smudgy. It was so pretty, with a gold side and a silver side for, you know, depending on what you're mixing, it's a little easier to see true tone on silver with this pretty little spatula. So I'm gonna use my brush. I'm gonna use two separate brushes, my brush with Rephr, which is hopefully coming back at some point. I have no updates for you as of right now. So I'm gonna use one of these per palette just so that we're not mixing tones, basically. So I'm gonna start off with Daybreak, and I'm going to dip into the bronzer. So you will feel a little bit of like give when you're pressing into it. It's not so wet. That's kind of what I was worried about when I saw that she was coming out with these palettes, because I know I know Sam has drier skin than me. So I was a little bit nervous that the formulas were going to be like very wet. They are not wet. They are very much like a satin kind of finish. So I'm gonna use this as a contour bronzer. I'm not gonna use a contour. I've already contoured my jawline with something cool toned. Ooh. I really wish that I hadn't hated the footage that I got when I first did my review of these, because I just instantly fell in love. Like I was shocked by everything. Like it was a very entertaining video. And I just wish that it had, it just looked really terrible. Like the color, everything looked really bad. Like the color of the overall video, not the makeup or anything. So that tone really surprised me. I was like, oh damn, that like actually looks really beautiful. It's kind of this nice in-between neutral that I feel will work really beautifully for a multitude of skin tones. If you're extremely pink, I would love to hear if you've picked up this palette. Like if you're extremely pink and you have a blue undertone, I would love to hear how you feel about it, because I was pretty shocked at how versatile it felt. And also how soft it looks. Like it just like melts into the skin, and it really just like kind of if you look at all the other tones of my skin, it really does work nicely. I was very, very happy with that. And the pigment, the amount of pigment in this palette in particular, Daybreak, is pretty soft. It's nice for, you know, I would say pale to light skin. Pale skin in particular, it doesn't build up too quickly, you know? Like it's not so dark that it like overwhelms, you know? Everyone who is pale knows what I mean when you like pick up something that is a bit extremely pigmented, whether it's a bronzer, cheek color, whatever. This really allows you to like slowly build up the effect, which makes things a lot easier to blend, and it creates just like a much more like natural, soft kind of finish. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, it's so pretty. I'm just gonna take a teeny bit of that along my jawline so that I have sort of like a cohesive tone throughout the skin. Isn't that so pretty? I was truly shocked by how much I loved that color. Just focusing the tip right in the bronzer, and I'm just gonna turn my brush and sharpen up that contour just a little bit. So beautiful. I love that color. I truly was shocked. I actually went on a trip to visit family. We did our like holiday trip before the holidays, and I took this palette with me because I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I need. I absolutely love it. So let's go on to High Noon. So obviously a lot darker, okay? Definitely made specifically for medium skin. When I was actually just talking to Gabby about these palettes yesterday, Gabby Alvarez, if you're not familiar. And both of us were like, we think of Desi Perkins when we see this. I feel like these colors just like would complement her like warm, medium skin so beautifully. Just like instant, like I want to see her in this palette. But having used it already, I can tell you that once again, you are able to sheer it out. Like when I dip my brush in, it doesn't pick up a ton of product because it is a more like satiny kind of formula. It's not ridiculously wet. It's not going to load up your brush like crazy. So you have the option to really sheer it out. And the tone is really gorgeous. So obviously when I like first start putting it down, you can see quite a bit more of that pigment. However, this bronzer color is like so much more in keeping with the tones that I usually like in a bronzer. It has much more warmth in it. So I'm going to slowly blend this on the cheek. And then once again, I'm just gonna do the same thing, dip the tip of the brush in, turn my brush, and use that to carve out the cheekbone a little bit. So if you're on the warmer side and you're kind of in between light, medium, and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is just too dark for me. I'm very pale. Not the palest, but I'm very pale, and I'm able to make this work for me. And that's what I love about this formula. Like you can really like tone it down or really build it up. And you know me, I love a multi-use product, okay? Something that is, you can manipulate. Work that into the forehead. And then same thing, I'm just gonna take a teeny bit, just dust a little bit around my jawline. So, and down my neck. So the tones all work together. Okay, so this is the medium, what's it called? High Noon? Why do I keep forgetting the name? Okay, so High Noon. You can see a much more like bronzy glow to the skin. Much more bronzy glow, much more warmth. You see a little bit more of that orange tone. That's really going to like be complemented by peach or like coral blushes, which I think is like so gorgeous that they included this like really corally, salmony kind of blush. So we have the warmth. And when we turn, it's a little bit softer, okay? A little bit more neutral. Now, personally, I think I like this best. I really do. I think it works so beautifully for my skin. I think it's stunning. I really, really like it for like everyday makeup for me. Something a little bit softer that isn't so sculpted because to build it up, I have to work a little harder to make it like really sculpt. But I feel like that is such a gorgeous finish on the skin. I love the color. This to me is much more like summer bronzy. Summer bronzy glow. Like if you just compare these two sides, this looks like sculpted to me, shaped, and this looks like warm, like warmed up bronzy. Wipe off my brush, my Sigma switch, Now, when I saw this blush color, I was like, oh no, is that gonna be too blue toned? But I was looking at it in comparison to my lips. My lips are ever so slightly more warm than this color, but it's pretty close. Like, it is pretty close. So, once again, just dipping. Don't want to build up too much. And I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to avoid this area of my face. And just slowly blend around the edges. Gorgeous. Fell in love with this blush color. Instantly fell in love with it. Is that so beautiful? Oh, it just like so complements the flush of my lip color and the vein color around my eyes. It looks really, really nice. I was very pleasantly surprised with that. And once again, not like, look at the finish of my skin. It looks hydrated, it looks healthy, it doesn't look wet. There's nothing wet about it. There's nothing worse to me than a blush that is too wet. But if you have dry skin, you can obviously use the mixing balm to manipulate the formula, make it a little bit more dewy. Gorgeous. Oh, I love that so much. I really was not expecting it expecting me to love it as much as I do. Really beautiful. And it works so gorgeously with that bronzer color. Like, they just kind of melt into each other. Beautiful. Back to the other brush. Sigma switching. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. Is my camera recording the audio though? Oh my God. Okay. Everything is against me filming this video. My mic was not recording that entire time. How does this happen? Every single time I have filmed with these. I don't want to talk about it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it does, then the audio is just going to be shitty for the first half of this video. And it'll be great for the second half. I'm going to soldier through. I'm just going to soldier through and we'll see what happens. So I'm switching gears to the peach salmon. Dipping into this blush. Okay. We're just pretending. Okay. Once again, gonna focus it like right here. I love a coral salmon. Love for a blush color. Oh, okay. I'm gonna build it up a little bit more. God, that's so beautiful. Once again, that tone works so beautifully with that bronzer. And this side of my face just looks bronzy. Just continues to look super bronzy and glowy. Cheeks are so uneven and I just I don't know, it makes blush application so difficult. That's so beautiful. I love that. It really is like much more of like a bronzy glow to my skin. Like this is such a summer look, you know, that I absolutely love. I love those peaches. I love those more warm tones for summer. Gorgeous. In comparison to this, which is just much more like toned down. It's a little bit more natural. It's a little bit more understated on my skin. It's a little bit more everyday, you know? Oh, but I like them both. Switching gears. So I'm gonna go in with the highlighter on its own first, and then I want to mix it a little bit with the mixing medium because I know that for my skin, I will probably only ever mix the mixing balm with the highlighter, not with anything else, just for my skin and my preference. But again, you have the option to do it with any of these formulas. Oh, I'm dumb. I just instantly put my blush in the balm. Like, what are you doing? What did you just say? So I'm just gonna dip into the highlight alone. And I'm just gonna pop it right on the top of the cheekbone. Ooh. been a second since I've used it on its own. I've been mixing it. Take it up in the C shape, blending into that blush. Ooh. Oh, isn't that so nice? So satiny. It's so satiny. And it doesn't break up the blush at all. Like, it just like melts into that blush. I actually think that I'm probably going to mix the highlighter into the blush going forward, just to add a little bit more glow. It's so pretty. Oh, I love it. It makes such a, like, talk about glow from within, you know? It just looks like my skin is just like so healthy. It just looks so healthy. Switching gears once again to High Noon. I don't know why I can't remember the name of that, which is a much more golden tone, close to like the value of my skin, you know? So a little less of like a top of the cheekbone kind of highlight and maybe a little bit more of like a cheek topper for my skin. So I'm going to focus at a slightly lower so that I'm kind of placing it on top of the blush. Ooh. I'm going to do the same thing, just bring it gently up onto the temple. Oh, very nice. Look at that, golden. And that really brought that blush into the bronzer. I feel like it really brought all three of those shades together. You know what I mean? Ooh, I don't know it's so hard to choose which one I like best. I really like them both. I feel like High Noon, the medium palette, is probably a little bit more on the glam side for me. And Daybreak is a little bit more of like an everyday, toned down, more like realistic colors, I guess, you know? This just makes me feel like my skin has so much health, so much color, you know? I really like them both. And I really love the highlighter combo with that blush. It's so nice because, like, you know, you turn your face, you don't see that ashy or like, sometimes it just looks like gray. There's like that gray tone when you turn your face. I don't see that. Both of the highlighters really just kind of like melt into the skin. All right, let's do a little mixing. So I'm going to take the spatula, a little mixing situation. I'm going to do, how much do I want to do? I'm going to use a small amount, kind of equal parts, I guess. Kind of equal parts. I've got the highlighter and then the mixing balm. I might start off with like half the mixing balm, just like working them together on the tip of the brush. Now, for a little more glow. Ooh. I'm just gonna focus this right here. Beautiful. It really does create much more of like a dew without looking oily, which is like always my fear with these kinds of things. As I turn here, you can kind of see the difference in the finishes, you know? It's like beautiful glow, but it really brings back a little bit of that dew, that hydration to the cheek. So pretty, so pretty. To be honest with you, I think this might be my favorite balm formula. There are a lot of like products out there that are like mixing balms. I think this one might be my favorite one because when you touch it, it just feels creamy and it has its own natural kind of glow. So you can use this on its own, you know, or you can mix. And once it's like down on the skin, there's like a slight grip to it. But it really just kind of sets in, once again, feeling a little bit more satiny and less sticky. It's not like sticky, you know? Which I really appreciate because I hate a sticky feel on the cheeks, you know? Because then like, I don't know, obviously I'm growing my hair out. My hair doesn't really reach my cheeks, but like your hair gets stuck in it or something. Like, is there any worse feeling than like hair getting in your lip gloss? Especially a sticky lip gloss? No. And I definitely don't want that on my cheeks. I can feel a little bit of moisture when I tap the top of my cheek. But everything else just feels like, I don't know, it just feels natural, feels hydrated. Okay, mixing balm number 2. So this mixing balm looks slightly lighter than the highlighter in High Noon, just about equal parts, and probably use a little less of the balm. You ready? Now I'm focusing this a little bit more like in the center of the cheekbone and not up as high just because it's slightly dark for my skin. Beautiful. Oh, I love how that just, it's like when you place a foiled shadow on your lid, you know, you use it just with just your fingers or whatever, or you mist a brush with a little bit of setting spray and then you apply your foiled shadow. It's that difference where it just adds a little bit more of like that. It amps up the foil a little bit while pressing it into the skin. So it's not sitting on top of the skin. It's really like coming from within. And it just kind of like helps to manipulate the impact of that highlighter, where because you have a slight increase of dew, you just get a slightly lighter reflect. But once again, when I turn my face, I'm not seeing this like super dark stripe on my cheek, you know? So yes, I did focus it a little bit lower, but I ended up blending up a little bit. It looks beautiful. It doesn't look like super out of place. Those colors like harmonize so nicely with my skin. Oh, I wonder how they would work mixed and matched. I could totally do that. All right, I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of my Huda powder and my Linda Hallberg powder puff to set my T-zone. I'm really happy with both of these palettes. Like, it's so hard for me to choose a favorite because I do feel like Daybreak I just feel like it's such a perfect go-to for every day. So like if you're someone who does the same makeup every single day and you need an all-in-one palette and you need something that will help you to like, you know, adjust formulas for your skin type throughout the seasons, then I think that this is just fantastic. Like I think that that's so perfect if you're like, you know, pale to light. Like it's really just natural, like really, really just like melts into the skin. I love the tones. I was so surprised by them. But the bronzy tones of High Noon, I just know, like I'm picturing myself like going to parties wearing this palette. Like that's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing like girl in like a cute summer outfit with like this glowy cheek. I'm gonna be unstoppable. I feel like I can get away with wearing this as like a daytime, like an everyday sort of palette, but because it's a little bit darker for my skin, I feel like it's gonna be a go-to for like that summer bronzy glam, you know, like as the months become a little bit warmer. So I'm just gonna do a slow side by side. I know I've done a lot of that, but I just wanna make sure that you guys get a good look if you were interested in this palette and you didn't know what to go for. So this is Daybreak, the lightest, and we have High Noon, the medium palette. I think I would highly suggest that if you are ever so slightly darker than me, like if you are more on the light side, if you're leaning towards medium and you have a nice warm undertone, I would highly recommend picking up High Noon. Let's forget the name of it again. High Noon, because I think if you're darker than me, it's gonna be maybe a little bit more difficult to build up Daybreak to get like the effect that you want. That'll very much depend on your undertone, obviously, and I think you can get away with building up Daybreak if you're like light, because I would consider myself like pale light. But if you are very pale, I definitely think that Daybreak is a beautiful palette. And again, I really want to hear from those of you who are like really, really, really cool toned with like blue undertones. So yeah, I want to hear from you. Please let me know. I need the pink blue people. I hope that was helpful. If you were between these palettes and you're like close to me in skin tone, you're going to be seeing me use them both because they're so beautiful. I love them so much. I hope this video was helpful in some way, review wise and otherwise. What am I saying? That whole like audio thing really threw me off. If you're ever interested in side-by-side shade comparisons, please let me know. doesn't matter what it is. Could be just like a blush, a bronzer, if you just want to see like 2 shades compared side by side because you're close to me in skin tone or undertone. I'm happy to do that for you. But yeah, I highly recommend. Oh, I didn't show you the box. How pretty is this? It's really pretty. I love the whole like stone earth vibe that she has going on with Auric. I just think it's so pretty. Mirage Shift. Oh, and I think they're going to be refillable at some point. I think she mentioned that because there's these holes in the back where you can like pop them out, I think, and then refill. I don't know when that's going to happen, but that's really nice. If you like run out of one of these things, you do not want to have to buy a whole nother palette, you know? All right, guys, thank you for watching. Please let me know what you want to see in the comments down below. Subscribe and blah, 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 whatever, all the stuff. And I will see you in the next one. Oh, I also have an Auric code. I think it's just Alex. No, it can't just be Alex. I'll pop it here for you. I have a code with Auric. So if you did want to pick up something, you can save some money. God, I'm the worst with this kind of thing. I'm gonna go. Bye.